When the ego allows you to maintain your self-esteem, there's nothing wrong in it. But if it starts obstructing your vision, if it starts causing conflict with other people, if it brings in the concept only I, me, myself, that's where the problem comes. But sometimes man becomes so powerful that it overshadows your intellect.
If I need to understand myself better, I need to master my mind, understanding myself of who am I.
There's a very beautiful verse in Bhagavad Gita which says, Uddret Atmanam Atmanam Vasadaye Atmai Atmana Bandhu Atmai Ripuratmana. Our brain has got 50 billion neurons. So smelling, touching, hearing, tasting, these are 5 senses, and above the senses is what is called your...
If you were to highlight one fundamental problem that the humanity is facing, what would that be?
One single problem that we've not been able to find a solution to relates to the domain of what I've described as...
In today's fast-paced world, the challenges we face often go beyond the physical and the material. Stress, anxiety, and a sense of disconnection are increasingly becoming part of our daily lives. Despite advancement in technology and material comforts, many of us feel unfulfilled, constantly seeking something deeper. The question that arises is, how do we manage ourselves and find true peace and purpose in this chaotic world? To explore these profound questions, we have a special guest who brings a wealth of wisdom and experience. Joining us today is Mr. Vinod Malhotra, a retired IS officer and an expert on spirituality with a deep passion for the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. In our previous conversation, Mr. Malhotra helped us understand the fundamental principles of Gita, and today he will take us deeper exploring the concepts of self-management through different dimensions of life: physical, social, emotional, and spiritual. He will share how these aspects can be harmonized to lead a more balanced and a meaningful life. In this episode, expect to gain insights into the practical applications of the Gita's wisdom in our daily lives. We'll also discuss how to achieve inner peace, manage emotions, and cultivate a resilient spirit. Mr. Malhotra will guide us through the journey of self-discovery, providing valuable tips and advice that can help us navigate life's complexities with grace and strength. So if you're looking to find balance, enhance your personal growth, or simply understand life at a deeper level, this episode is for you. Stay with us as we delve into the heart of spirituality and self-management. Let's get started. Before we start today's conversation, I've got one request. If you ever enjoyed the video or got any value out of it, please subscribe to it. It really motivates the team and helps us bring bigger guests. Thank you again and enjoy the rest of the episode.
To begin with, I'm going to ask you a question that is in my mind for a long time. That is, in today's time, there's technological advancement. There's a lot of wars, conflicts happening around the world. What is, if you were to highlight one fundamental problem that the humanity is facing, what would that be?
Yes, I think it's a very interesting question and probably impacts every citizen of this world. And this problem has been right from the beginning of the dawn of civilization. It's not something which is now. While different nations, different societies, different groups have made considerable progress in terms of the civilizational evolution in science, in technology, in medicine, one single problem that we've not been able to find a solution to relates to the domain of what I've described as self-management. Now, it appears a very simple phrase, self-management. What do you mean by self-management? In very simple terms, it means managing yourself. Now, it's extremely important for us to understand that while we seem to be expert in managing the world, there's an expertise available in managing a corporate entity, managing a country, managing a society, managing household. You know, our mothers have been doing fantastic work. It's all in the domain of management. But biggest problem lies when we make an effort to, which we seldom do, when we start making an effort to manage ourselves. Because that's where we stop short of the right kind of expertise. Even if we have expertise, we have hesitation in terms of trying to find out what really is wrong with us. I really think nothing is wrong with us. That's the notion all of us have. So when you're in self-denial mode, about yourself, the challenge becomes much bigger.
Mhm.
And that, coupled with the lack of knowledge about yourself, makes things much worse. So the self-management becomes extremely delicate kind of proposition, almost impossible.
When you talk about self-management, are you talking about the management of your mind, the brain that we have, or is it different levels?
No, it's management of the entire entity that you are as a human being. Now, I'll describe to you what all do we have. So first of all, you must really very focus yourself, concentrate, and understand what are the different instruments that you have in the body. The God has created several kind of species of animals and wildlife and human beings, of course, are the highest ladder of the evolutionary process.
To simplify it, man is the sixth sense, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been described as Shashtan Indriyani. One of those Bhagavad Gita slok talks about man as a sixth kind of a sense. But then you need some entity to control the man because it's vacillating. It is unstable. Asancham Mahabahu Mano Durnigram Chalam. Arjuna asked Krishna, "Ki man to is chanchal, what do I do about it?" He says, "Look, yes, you're right. Asanchami Mahabhav Mano Durnigram Chalam." Mahabhav, ye jo man hai, ye definitely it's unstable. Then how do we control it? Vairagyam, this is the two ways you can sort of control it. Either with a sense of detachment or by keeping your desires to the bare minimum. So you really need to not get carried away by your desires of your man. Vairagya and sense of Anasakti, detachment. Two things are important to control it. Now, within your own system, you have another entity which can bring about a control within yourselves, within your body, which is intellect. We call it buddhi. And the residence or the place where the buddhi normally resides, we all know would be our cerebral system, our neurons and our brain, something which is above your shoulder. And buddhi has this strong, it's a great storehouse of power. We seem to underestimate the power of our brain. We seldom utilize it. In fact, one particular survey talks about majority of us don't use more than 5% of the capacity of our brain. Our brain has got 50 billion neurons, and each neuron has huge capacity. I will marvel at anybody producing a computer in this world which got that kind of capacity.
True.
I think it's going to be centuries ahead that somebody is going to go on, but we don't use it. So we sort of, think about machines to our work, which our mind, our intellect can do. Now, intellect also has power of discrimination. It can tell you what is wrong, what is right. It can store. It has memory. It has retrieval system. When you want to take out your some information that you stored, go back, previous incidents, it's intellect which comes into play. So you have the body, you have senses, you have the man, you have buddhi, and above that you have what is called the soul. That is a word that I want to use because people are familiar with that.
Yeah.
Or shall we say awareness or consciousness? Or
Atma, you would say.
Atma. Yes, Atma is a normal current word. But pause for a while. Atma is pure. It's not nanam chindanti shastrani, nanam dahiti pavaka. Atma is something which is indestructible. It has no qualities. Cannot be cut by a sword. It doesn't get wet. So it has different, it's not visible. Can only be experienced, right? Atma.
I've got a question here before you go ahead. Atma, you said the soul is also the consciousness.
Yes.
So other animal beings also have the soul?
Yes.
And they're conscious, is what you're trying to say?
But the consciousness in animals of a limited degree.
Okay.
It is one unidirectional, and it doesn't give them a complete picture of the entire universe. But in your case, it does.
I see.
It gives a 360-degree view, visualization of the word that you deal with.
So level of consciousness differs.
Level of consciousness differs. But consciousness is one supreme consciousness which pervades the entire universe. Everyone, everywhere. It illuminates the world and gives you that what is called first person subjective experience. Somebody also says, now since you brought in the word of consciousness, it is a fundamental reality of the universe. If anything which is real is your consciousness, awareness, chitta, clabium. Yeah, these are the words that we normally use. Now, therefore, coming back to this description, so we have above our intellect is what is Atma, or soul, or consciousness. But somewhere in between, there is this thing, what is called the sense of being, sense of I, sense of our own identity, creeps in and places itself between intellect and Atma. This is called ego.
Right.
I mean, you can guess that. And that's what really creates a bit of a problem for us. That actually prevents us getting on the path of self-management.
When you say ego, it is misunderstood by the word self-esteem, but that is completely different than what ego you're talking about.
Self-esteem is a very different domain. Although there's always a kind of a symbiotic relationship within these words. You can sort of... sometimes it says that sometimes you need ego to create that self-esteem. So nobody can possibly say things to you and get away with it. You need that kind of a... But when the ego, so long as it allows you to maintain your self-esteem, there's nothing wrong in it. But if it starts obstructing your vision, if it starts causing conflict with other people, if it brings in the concept only I, me, myself, that's where the problem comes.
But if you were to simplify the word ego, how would you explain it to a 5-year-old or 7-year-old?
Says, I'm everything. I do everything. I'm the cause of this. I have done this. I've eaten this. Time and again, constantly, if you keep on using the prefix I with whatever you're doing. I did not do anything wrong. I did the right thing. I am this. If you're constantly obsessed with that particular pronoun, which is perpendicular in shape.
But isn't ego omnipresent? Like it will be until you reach the enlightenment stage of life.
You're right. It's there unless you reach enlightenment.
Unless you reach that stage,
that particular stage where you kind of sublimate all your desires and you surrender yourself and you say, look, I'm a representation of that power, supernatural power. And I'm responsible, I'm an instrument of doing what he wants me to do. You don't start taking ownership of everything that you do. You are just one. You see, you must understand that if you look at yourself, this huge cosmic phenomena that we have, we are not even a speck, not even equal to the needle, the tip of the needle.
Absolutely.
And we seem to think that, we are the gods, we're the kings, and we become megalomaniac. We seem to, start thinking that, we are so powerful. We have people like Hitlers and people like Napoleons and down the street. Ravan, they were struck by a strong sense of ego. They were very powerful guys. Maybe they had a lot of knowledge, but ego was their undoing.
Staying on the subject of ego, is ego a negative connotation? Is it negative?
Well, you see, Shivam, it's very, very essential to understand that in the concept of the universe, which is governed by the principle of non-duality, there are no hard and fast definitions. I would not like to succumb to a temptation of getting things into black and white.
There's no negative or positive. It's neutral.
Yeah, but then if its usage is done for putting yourself in front, identifying yourself with everything that you've done, or being cause of all good things, or responsible for the entire movement of the universe, then it's not a good thing. But if you use that as a self-esteem, as something which is promoting harmony, love, affection, and staying rooted to the ground, then it's not a bad thing.
How would you use your ego in a positive way?
No. You see, we started using interpretation of the word. Normal understanding the ego is negative.
Yeah.
But the ego word actually describes your identity, what you really are. I mean, present yourself as, I. I actually represent, is a symbol of ego, no? Me is a symbol of ego, myself. So when you're projecting yourself all the time there, it become a difficult problem. It becomes kind of a roadblock to your progress and roadblock to your relationship with others. All the time when you're saying, oh, I did this, I did that, but you're not the only one. You're only kind of one instrument, one cog in the wheel, as it were. There's several other, people all around trying to promote harmony, bring about development. I mean, the world is not run by only one individual. So this is a collective effort by everyone. So if you bring in ego, then you seem arrogant to yourself. It's arrogance.
Okay.
So anyway, but ego has to be understood and managed, and you really need to transcend your ego.
Right.
To be able to understand, reach consciousness, to reach Atma. आत्मा के दर्शन करने के लिए जो बुद्धि का आधार आप प्रयोग करते हैं, उससे आपको करने के लिए अपने अहंकार, ईगो को से ऊपर जाना पड़ेगा.
Like they say, starve the ego, feed the soul.
Yeah, you can sort of term it that way. So coming back to the subject, so we have body, senses, man, buddhi, ahankar. Ahankar with a tongue in cheek, and of course Atma. And Atma, of course, is ultimate. So once you know these different kind of instruments and position that you have, then we need to reflect as part of self-management. Because basic concept is, how can you, if you want to manage something, including yourself, you must know yourself.
True.
Anything that you want to manage, you must first of all know its attributes, its characteristics, or else how would you take it forward? So once you know yourself, then you must examine the attributes and characteristics of each of these entities. Dive deeper into this. What does my sense do? My sense of eating or listening or hearing, is it all the time running into negativities, running into pleasure seeking, running to negative things? Because your taste, smell leads you into a lot of temptations, and you get into problem. For example, one of your senses, and then of course it overpowers your man, leads you to drink heavily, and then you get carried away, or something like you get addicted to certain bad games, lewd kind of films, and you want to see more and more of it. So these are some of the so it is responsible for getting into bad habits. And so it becomes, and your ego and other factors don't allow you to accept that you're doing something wrong. This is where you bring in the role of ego time and again, which actually prevents you from really understanding who you really are.
Okay.
So understand the role of your senses. Understand the role of mana. मन में आपके इमोशंस जागृत होती हैं, भाव होते हैं, जैसे एम्पैथी है, लव है, अफेक्शन है, एंगर है, जेलसी है. They all originate in your मन. मन है, माइंड है, जो भी कहना. माइंड is in fact not the correct description, but intellect is watching all of them. But sometimes man becomes so powerful that it kind of eclipses or overshadows your intellect, and you start getting into that particular stream. So man is not stable, so it needs to be controlled by your intellect. And intellect needs some kind of a guidance by your soul. Because your soul or consciousness illuminates the entire world, is able to give you a complete picture of what the world is like, what you should be doing, how you should be doing, and guides the intellect on the right path. So, and these, at the end of it all, if you know them and you know the characteristics, know their strengths and weaknesses, then what is, you in management terms, we talk about SWOT analysis. Strength, weakness, opportunities, threats, etc. So you sort of, once you understand that, then you become a good manager of yourself.
So you're saying the biggest problem in today's time is that we do not know how to manage ourselves, and there's no particular manual in order to tell us that. And you said there are 5 things that govern that. But where do you start? Do you start with your body, or do you start with understanding your senses, or do you start with understanding your man, your intellect, ego, or the soul? Where do you start in order to?
You see, the most powerful instrument that you have, by this time you would have discovered, is your intellect. And that at a very fundamental stage is the most powerful and most sensible and most dependable instrument that you have. And is by itself is very agnostic to what is happening in your senses and your mind and your body. But if you leverage the power of your intellect and tell your man, hey, buddy, behave yourself. This is not the right thing for you to do. You're not feeling well, you shouldn't be going and eating wrong food. Oh, that film is not good. It's meant for, that's not a nice thing to do. This music is rotten, so just look at something better. So that becomes your guide. Intellect becomes your mentor to yourself, guiding and telling, because that's the only instrument that you have which has the power of what is called discrimination, vivek, to be able to know, tell right from wrong, and to be able to guide you to do the right thing.
That's what intellect does.
That's what intellect does. Okay. Because it has the power of memory, it has the power of storage, it has the power of retrieval, and it has the power of discrimination.
Okay.
And unfortunately, our senses don't have power of discrimination. They get driven, almost like horses which without the reins, they run amok. If I like something, meetha hai, pasand hai, to thoda khao usko yaar. Even if I'm suffering from blood sugar, so intellect has that capacity to keep control. And there's a very beautiful verse in Bhagavad Gita, which I would definitely like to share here, which says, Udret atmanam atmanam vasadayet, atmai atmana ripu, atmai ripuratmana. Atmai atmana bandhu, atmai ripuratmana. Which says you must constantly make an effort to elevate yourself, raise the bar, raise your standard in thought process, in your interaction with people, in your achievement, in your productivity, constant. Udret atmanam, keep on raising yourself. Atmanam vasadai, don't let yourself be downgraded. Atmai atmana bandhu, you are your best friend. Atmai ripuratma, you are your worst enemy.
Yeah.
The buck stops at you. So you don't need any external support, or don't need to look outside to be able to raise yourself or bring yourself down, either way. Because nobody can damage you, nobody can support you outside of you. So you're completely independent by yourself. You're a complete entity. Sampurna hai aap Vishwa mein. Ambramasmi, Tattvamasi. So, and that is where the concept of self-management becomes very important. Corresponding to these 5-6 dimensions instruments that I talked about, we all seem to be suggesting a way out that first there's a physical dimension. Now, physical dimension will tell you what your body should remain healthy. The basic premise. What do you need? You must look at proper air, proper water, proper food. 3 components and strong focus on things which are which are more important. In that order, breathing is a critical, fundamental to your existence, and you can't survive more than water quality, food quality. So that's the physical dimension to keep your cell healthy. Of course, there are other measures that you take to keep your cell healthy. Don't become fat, keep your cell under check, and exercise, etc. Then second level is to make sure that your social dimensions are actually largely governed by your senses. Your interaction within society, your place in society, your experiences that you get. Then next is physical dimension or physical quotient, social quotient, emotional quotient. I mean, and these are dimensions of quotient which you must keep on raising as you move up. Emotional quotient is EQ, is about your value system, about your thoughts, about your empathy, about what kind of gratitude, sense of belonging. So you must raise your emotional quotient. And people who got strong emotional quotient are able to connect with people better. They're able to serve people better. They're able to become sensitive to others. And that's a very important human quality, which we find becoming more and more rare these days, right? And then finally, your intellectual quotient. Not finally, one primary, important intellectual quotient. The final one is of critical importance. All these quotients, social quotient, physical quotient, emotional quotient, intellectual quotients, will fall flat if you lack what is called spiritual quotient. Spirituality, again, difference from religiosity, not religion. I'm not talking about a special ideology, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, Isai, inki baat nahi kar raha hu. I'm talking about spirituality which raises your level, which transcends your ego and connects with every individual in this world at the same level. That makes you treat everyone as equal. Even an ant is as much equal as you are. That's the kind of a perspective that you develop when you become spiritual. Love everyone equally. Have concern for the universal concern for every individual. That's what spirituality brings. It raises your consciousness level. In fact, one of the very interesting French, he was a bishop in some county there. I forget this name, but he says human beings are not physical entity which come to the world for a spiritual experience. Human beings are spiritual entities, quintessentially spiritual entities who come to the world for a physical experience. We come here only for a physical experience, but our physical experience overshadows our original and hides our original identity, which is spiritual. Our core is spiritual. Body is perishable. आज है कल नहीं है. कितने लोगों को देखते हैं मरते हैं, फिर जीते हैं, फिर आते हैं. So why we bother about something which is transient? We should bother about, look at, focus, and develop something which is there for a long period of time. So these, once you raise this quotient, then you are able to get a clear perspective of what you really are. And once you know that, self-management becomes easier and you become a responsible citizen of the world.
So you think managing yourself is key to being on your journey towards spirituality.
Absolutely.
That's what you said. But managing yourself has a lot of different layers, like you said. How does one, for example, I'll give you an example. Now that I have learned a lot about myself with experiences and reading and knowing more about scientifically, that you can understand your mind and there's different chemicals that are secreted in your mind. And in order to secrete those chemicals, you do a particular activity that would secrete and make you feel better. And that is one way of self-management. That is more towards intellect. But where does a normal person who doesn't know, who don't know anything about that, where should the person start? Where should one start?
No, you see, you talk about the chemistry of human mind or the secretion of hormones. And by the way, there are about 10 different, or in fact, 10 different hormones that we generate in our body. And incidentally, they're described as laughter hormones. It's very interesting the way, because they cause what is called happiness and well-being, like the oxytocin and dopamine and serotonin, and these are different. There are many others.
Oxytocin.
So these hormones get generated by, I mean, as it is, body keeps on generating by different processes that keep on happening. But if you are performing a good deed, a good act, either you performing it or you're observing somebody performing a good deed, you get these hormones generated. Oxytocin, for example. If you're doing a good work, doing nice things with somebody, saying something or doing something for others, which makes you feel good, you develop oxytocin. And this has a kind of a cascading effect of development, make you feel better. And so if you have experienced that by being a nice person, by being a good person, by leveraging that part of your instrument, which is mana, for which generates this kind of nice feeling, if you have used that in the right way, you become a healthy person. You become a better person. And then you start building up. Udaret atmanam atmanam basade. It's a process. That you do good thing, you feel good, and you want to do something more better. It's the more you see the Maya in this Prakriti, Maya in this world is like, the more you do, the more you want to do that. You fall into trap. आपको शराब की आदत पे पड़ गई है, the more you drink, more you want to drink, right? But if you want to do something, if you start doing something good, equal logic applies there also.
If you do meditation and more, you would want to do more meditation to feel that high.
Yeah, but I mean, yes, but then you need to stay rooted to that. It may not necessarily happen easily in meditation, but if you start enjoying that process of meditation, if you're able to concentrate, then you start doing it and you start enjoying it. You eat more and you want to eat more. No? So the tendency to go into bad habits seems to be stronger, driven by our man and our indriya. That's why you need to know and control them. And once you're able to handle that well, then you can handle the entire world. Then you're able to manage yourself. You see, aane wale time mein, Shivam, because of internet, because of more and more money, more and more activities, more and more options and opportunities, we're all going to be spoiled for choices. The new generation is going to be, in our time, maybe in my parents' life, we had limited choices. Look at the hunter and gatherers. They had no choice at all. But as we evolved, number of choices became much more. Now, in present generation, of course, so we are spoiled for choices. We won't know which one to take, which one to discard. So that is where the concept self-management becomes far more important. And we need to refer to ancient wisdom, contemporary wisdom, things like Bhagavad Gita, or things like spiritual scriptures, or talk by any motivational person. Talk from any guru, any good person who you believe is trustworthy. And that, I think, is extremely important for not merely the well-being at the individual level, the well-being of the entire universe, because we are at this point of time, we are facing sustainability crisis, environmental degradation. And the kind of things that are happening these days, ozone depletion, the carbon problems, glaciers melting, Dubai is having a big time rainfall, etc., temperature rising and things of this kind, which are all largely our own doing. So, and if the world becomes more and more inhospitable, more and more problems, it will be essential more and more for you to be able to manage yourself. Because you'll have multiple choices and you want to go, yahan bhi jana hai, wahan bhi karna, ye bhi karna, wo bhi karna hai. But if you lack the capacity, if you lack the expertise, then you have problems. So managing yourself is at one level it is good for your own well-being, but if you're able to manage yourself, then you are in complete alignment with the forces of nature, and you're able to do your bit for the universe, the country, and for the good of everyone.
What I'm not understanding is, where should I start? If I need to understand myself better, I need to master my mind. Let's say, mastery is not a good word, but understanding myself of who am I. Where should one start?
So that's what I've been talking about last an hour. So first of all, you really reflect on these things that we discuss. Look at your strengths and weaknesses. Where do you go wrong, or where are you? Are you given to temptation straight away? You reflect upon this,
Okay.
or you ponder over. You see, one of the things, important thing that I always have this equation in mind. We constantly under our several stimuli. There's always a pressure on us. I'm going to do this. I'm going to act in this manner. I have to go there. I have to do that. I have to speak to somebody like that. Oh, he had said something. I'm going to settle my score. So multiple stimuli. And stimuli leads to response. I mean, if there is some stimulus bothering you, affecting you, then it leads to some response. You must react or respond to it. Before you respond, there's always a space between. We don't use that space. So any issue that you confront, is any problem that you face, or any act that you're going to perform, before you do that, reflect on it. Think about it. Give yourself time.
So it's the intellect that's driving these three forces.
That's why I said, must take recourse to intellect. That's your biggest ally, biggest friend that you have, whom you don't use.
Can you say it is close to understanding psychology?
Well, psychology is a study of human mind, human intellect. That's what it is, yes.
So it's synonyms.
Well, psychology is a science. Science of human mind, in simple words. But you have the intellect, you have the mind. You must know how to use it. And it's not a rocket science, by the way. You don't need a study of, don't need to study books written by Sigmund Freud or Carl Jung, these big psychologists, to be able to understand what is right, what is wrong. छोटे बच्चे को भी पता होता है, parents tell him, hey, not telling lie, don't hurt anybody, don't do anything wrong. So it's instilled into us. We know it. And when you grow up, we all know. But something in us, our desires, some sense of jealousy or revenge or anger makes us do the contrary, and we get into trouble. और दूसरी एक और चीज़ होती है, एक चीज़ इम्पोर्टेंट जो इसमें, जो आप अपने इंटेलेक्ट का यूसेज है. So let me just very briefly mention, because that's the powerhouse that you have, that you must leverage, which you normally don't. Most of us don't. उसका यूसेज का सीक्वेंस होना चाहिए ना, वो होना चाहिए thought, speech and action. Not the other way around.
Thought, speech and action. Okay.
Most of us act before we think. We speak before we think. But if you speak before think, you'll get into a problem. You'll just say something funny, stupid, etc. So think what you. In fact, one of the Upanishads, Maitri Upanishad, says that you are what your thoughts are. You become what your thoughts make you. So thoughts are the primary energy, origin of all that you do.
Thoughts attached to the right emotions.
Thoughts drive emotions. Emotions, in any case, are the product of your reaction to the outside world. But thoughts are the fundamental to it. And your thoughts can drive your anger also. Thoughts drive your sympathy also, spitefulness also. But give preeminence to your thoughts, preeminence to intellectual behavior. And that be the biggest means of self-management.
I want to switch our conversation to a subject that I am not very well versed about, and you've written a book on it recently, on the subject of Ashtavakra Geeta. And you were telling me earlier that where all the wisdom of every scripture ends, Ashtavakra Gita starts?
I think, Shivam, Ashtavakra Gita is a complete topic by itself. So I'll very briefly touch upon that, but then we can separately discuss it, because that's one particular scripture which is less understood, less known by people, because Bhagavad Gita has dominated our country's scriptural scene. But we'll have a separate kind of discussion. It requires a complete. Basically it's a conversation between King Janak, Emperor Janak, father of Sita, and a sage called Ashtavakra. Ashtavakra's sage was contemporary, of course, Raja Janak, and it's a dialogue between the two of them. And Ashtavakra became Emperor Janak's guru. And he was a 12 years old boy whose name took from the fact that his body was twisted at 8 different places. That's why Ashtavakra.
Okay.
Vakra is twisted. Twist. Asht is 8. So his body was twisted. Legs were going that direction. Hands were not good one, So Ashtavakra Gita is regarded as a symbol of great concept of non-duality, which is our principal message of our Upanishads and our Vedanta philosophy, and which actually propagates the concept that there's only one entity. Advaitvad talks about non-duality. Non-duality really means there's a negative non, so only one, which has no second. So Ashtavakra Gita is a very radical scripture describing time and again that you are one, there's only one, and you are that. You are the symbol and manifestation of only one entity. Everything else is an illusion. Everything else is transient. So I think it requires a very further kind of elaboration. And so I normally hesitate in discussing Ashtavakra Gita because to a premature mind, it might give you a different kind of a sense of experience, might lead you astray. So the basic thing which relates to everyone, which is of relevance in day-to-day life, is our good old Bhagavad Gita. There's no comparison to that scripture. And so Ashtavakra is something which people, once they reach a particular level of spiritual maturity and want to understand who they really are, and that's the book, of which we shall discuss it later.
So what's the difference between realizing that we are one and actually practicing it? The difference between the knowledge and the action of the fact that there's only one, non-duality.
You touched upon a very important area of, a hiatus gap between knowing and being. I mean, even I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you, I cannot say with confidence that I'm following everything that I'm saying. And that's where we need to sort of close the gap. We must, like they say, walk the talk.
Keep reminding yourself.
Keep reminding yourself. And we're all imperfect human beings. But we are in that journey for seeking perfection. See, my advice to the listeners would always be that, yes, these paths are difficult. I mean, this journey is difficult. But don't drop this by merely this thought that, oh, no, it's a very difficult, I cannot do that. I'm not ready yet. Or I will postpone it when I become old or something. No, there's no such thing. When the thought has come to you, time to start is right now. The children often ask me, what is a good time to read Bhagavad Gita? I said, now. 8 years old boy, realize. Right now, moment you understand, yes, it's a good thing. But we seem to procrastinate, we seem to push it to, by merely saying that, no, it's difficult, oh, it's not my... And sometimes we are even scared of getting into spiritual space. You know, why? we're scared and getting into spiritual space because we seem to think, if I become spiritual, then the fun will go out of my life. I'll have to give up many things. मेरे को पार्टी नहीं करना पड़ेगा, दारू नहीं पी पाऊंगा मैं, और गलत काम, which gives me a bit of thrill. I'll think twice. So that's spirituality psychosis that we have. But I can tell you that if you get into that space, it'll frighten you in the beginning. It'll even shoo you away from it and tell you, oh, no. And we are willing to be shooed away. But if you persist in your journey of following that path of righteousness, good deeds, spiritual kind of a path, not limited only to visiting a temple that's only ritualistic kind of. And you start then enjoying it. And that enjoyment has no parallel. Then you get immersed into that. The experience that you start getting is then the temptations of the word, the glamour of the word, the attraction of the word cease to have any great. I'm not saying that you stop doing it. Karo. We're living this word. You need to perform, you need to act. But don't get carried away. Don't get overshadowed. Don't get sort of completely tempted to such an extent that there's no coming back.
Basically reminding yourself what you
really are.
The reality of all these sages and the spiritual scientists have already presented to us.
Yes, also understanding what you really are, what you should be doing. Why are you here? See, if you ask anybody, standard, kya karna hai zindagi mein? Why are you here for? What are your? I'm going to go to school, study hard, get into good college, get a good job, marry, produce children.
That's what the society teaches you.
That's one. But is that our objective? We need to reflect upon.
Is there an objective?
Is that an objective?
Is there an objective?
You must reflect for yourself. You must think about what is your objective in life. Is that the objective? But that's a very, very material context, no? You come to this world and you go away without doing anything for the world,
then the
for the universe,
aspect
for
of ego
anybody
comes in as well. That so I should leave an impact on this world because I've come to this world.
No, not ego. You have to sort of tell yourself, what is your role? Why are you here? Is there a purpose behind the creation?
Are you trying to say there is a purpose of every entity?
There's a reflect. You need to reflect upon every purpose, every entity, even a small ant has a purpose in life. Have you seen an ant moving around? Ant purpose is to soften the soil so that its productivity becomes better. You eat better food, more food is available because of ant. Have you ever thought about it?
Yeah.
She doesn't ask any returns on that. She does it. So you should be having higher purpose in that. Which is she doing it for the world, for the universe, for the people, for the benefit of everyone. Okay, take that, forget about the God. Take that as a purpose, that I am here to perform the good deed for the improvement of the universe. Pay back to nature. Utni tak rakho. Good enough. And
without any expectation.
Without any expectation.
Of whatever return you get.
If you can do that, nothing like. We do that without any. And does not expect anything in return. But we first expect, then we work.
Absolutely.
है ना? तो फिर वो purpose तो lose हो जाता है ना फिर. Are you here for that? If everyone starts thinking in the same way, just imagine what disaster will strike this universe. So I think each one, I'm not talking about people at different level can discuss their own, according to their own predilections and about their own thought process. But I think it's very important for each one of us to reflect on what we are, why are we here, what is our role, are we doing things which are the right thing to do, are we paying back to the nature all that we've taken from it. You are extracting everything for your existence, your life from the nature. Are you giving back anything to it? Are you giving back anything? Is anybody giving back to the nature anything?
No,
So how do you expect to sustain it?
that's true.
You borrow something from a money lender. क्या होता है? You don't give him, so he'll send bouncers. No?
You must.
So nature is quietly giving it to you, not asking, not expecting anything to. But is that the right thing that we don't even want to give it back? We need to reflect on these basic, very, very basic questions. And I think if we are right thinking people, if we have right perspective, if we have consciousness in our favor, we'll be able to get the right answer.
To end my conversation, I want to ask you about your new book that you're working on, which is on yoga. And yoga as a subject, as a word, has been misunderstood as a stretching technique. But can you quickly explain the audience what is the reality of yoga and what's the depth of yoga that we don't talk about?
Shiv, again, I like Ashtavakra Geeta. This is a discussion that will maybe take a couple of hours. But very briefly, this book, first of all, it disabuses the practitioners from this thought that yoga is only physically centered. It is not. It is physicality is only in terms of maybe a few asanas, postures, and at the most it is a bit of a pranayama. But a classic structure of the Patanjali Sutra, Patanjali Yoga people practice, which is also called Ashtanga Yoga. Asana is only one of the 8 components. Rest is all very, very subtle. It goes to yam, niyam, pratyahara, asana, pranayam, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. So the 8 components. Asana is only one of them. But unless you have done the earlier one and subsequent, you will not be able to get into that. You're not a yogi. You're only doing some exercises. You may as well go to gym and do exercise. Why are you deluding yourself that you're doing yoga? You're not doing yoga. But that's one part of it. But then yoga has several other connotations. I've tried to deal with 4 different paradigms of yoga in the metrics. So this is so if you have a problem, supposing, for example, if you have a problem of lack of faith, you don't trust anybody, you seem to be suspecting, and you are miserable. So, answer is bhakti yoga. You become a devotee, you become devotional. You have problem of lack of concentration. You're distracted, your mind flits from here to there. So, solution is dhyan yoga or Raja yoga, whatever. You have a lot of impurities in your mind, you have a lot of desires, and you're constantly worried and you're not able to fulfill them, and you're very upset, depressed person. The answer is karma yoga. Perform your duties, don't worry. 4th one is you suffer from ignorance. So if you're suffering from ignorance, you commit errors, you make mistakes. So the solution is Jnana Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Raj, Dhyan Yoga and Jnana Yoga. And this is also a description of what is called Sankhya Yoga. So these 5 paradigms have been discussed in this new book, which actually brings the yoga, different form of yoga, in a very clear perspective. And we need to follow them. Otherwise, we are not doing great service to this most ancient science, which is coterminous with the creation of the universe. Science of yoga is as old as the universe. So it's upon us to bring out the finer points, the substantive issues. So I've made an attempt to do that right in this book. It should be out, I think, in a month's time, and I'm trying to see if it can coincide along with the International Day of Yoga, which is 21st June. So this book is both in Hindi and English.
Right.
And later on, I'm discussing with the publishers, we probably would print it in other languages also. Tamil and Telugu, Bengali, etc.
So we're blessed to be living in a time where there is a lot of evolution in terms of the wisdom that has been bestowed towards us, and we have to take the most out of it. People like you are helping more people to realize their inner consciousness and themselves. And thank you again for your time today. We are due to have these 2 conversations that you're promising on camera. on yoga and Ashtavakra Geeta.
Certainly, anytime.
And-
And I feel myself blessed to be given this task by His Almighty. And I do sincerely hope that I'm able to do justice to it without getting into the ego trap that I'm doing. No, I'm not.
It's the
doing.
universe doing it
It's
for you.
the universal power, the consciousness, and the puri kainat जिसे कहते हैं ना, it sort of helps you to move into a particular direction. I do sincerely hope that I'm able to share by whatever experience and thought that I had.
I got a lot of learnings from this conversation today, and I'm sure the audience did as well. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, G.
If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Until then, keep reimagining yourself and know that the power of change lies within you.